For 50 years, she has exposed how culture robs boys and men of their emotions. She helps men reclaim their full emotional selves so they can lead, love, and connect at home. Her work blends the most effective therapies to heal childhood wounds and transform relationships. Please welcome the psychologist, the author, and trailblazer, Gloria Vanderhorst.
Thank you so much. I love the trailblazer
You
image because
really
that
are.
is so
You
true,
really are.
right? We are at a trailhead, and the culture itself is starting to notice
Yeah.
the way that we treat boys ends up with handicaps for men,
Yeah.
right? There are books developing out there, there are men's groups developing to address this very thing. It's fabulous to be in this time, this age of development.
You know what's interesting? There was a significant period where there was a lot of attention on women's rights, and rightfully so. That's where the attention needed
Right,
to be because there was a lack of
right.
equality, lack of
Hmm.
opportunities that was there on that side. But what's happened now is my understanding is that women have really scaled up. They've come to their full potential. They're really rising up to the opportunities. And suddenly, men are not sure how to handle this challenge. They are in a place where they feel confused, they don't know their purpose, they don't know how to move forward. And
Right.
so there's a new space of trying to help men to try to be just
Hmm.
as good as women so that both can contribute to society.
Yes, the key here, so what is happening with boys for in particular is they're not heading into college at the rate that they used to,
Right.
right? They're either idle, and a significant percentage of them are idle as high school graduates, where, instead of going to college, they're hanging out in their neighborhoods, right? They're also not employed.
Yeah.
So we're at a critical point where we have to understand what is happening with boys and how did they get there,
Right.
right? And it's amazing that we don't know,
Yeah. It's crazy that we don't
right?
know, and it's mind boggling to me. Just jumping off this topic, this is not how I planned the thing to
Hmm.
go, but we are going more. I feel there's a rhythm that we have set, so I'm just hopping off from that.
Hmm.
What do you think the previous generation did or didn't do that caused this chaos with men and their emotions?
So if let's go back to after World War II,
Right.
right? That particular generation has the reputation of really being like kind of the best of times, kind of a bit of a golden age. Men were coming back from war,
Right.
factories were increasing, men, everybody was either employed or getting education, the government was paying for college for these guys coming back from World War II. Things were thriving and they were growing,
Right.
right? And the kids that came out of that generation were focused, they were driven to be successful, and then that particular generation was reaching a high, right? They're very successful, they're very competent, and suddenly they start overcompensating with their own children, right? Their own children are not out running around the neighborhood, right? They were running around the neighborhood, but their children are not running around the neighborhood,
Right.
all right? They're not exploring, they're not developing their own sense of interest. They're put into activities, and they're put into activity after activity after
That's true.
activity.
That's true.
right?
Yeah.
They are so programmed, they don't have time to breathe.
They, it's insane. It's insane how these.
Right, it is
Yeah.
insane. They don't have time to reflect, right? They don't have time to be bored and figure out what does my brain do when it's bored.
Yeah.
And this is a valuable process to figure out what does my brain do
Yeah.
when I'm bored. But they've missed that opportunity. And so the boys that we see now who finish high school, don't go on to college, aren't really getting jobs where they get to use their brains or their bodies in really successful ways, are clearly in trouble. All right? They serve as weights on the society.
Yeah.
They're pulling us down. They're not doing it intentionally,
Yeah.
but they are doing it because we have not educated ourselves on what's the reality for a boy. What is the truth about the innate characteristics that a boy comes into this world with? And the key to that is their emotional strength.
It's so fascinating. I've had a bunch of people that I've spoken to who almost feel unsure of what to do with boys. They have an idea of how to
Uh-huh.
raise their girls. They have an idea, oh my god, this will be amazing if we have a girl child. And it's
Right.
almost
Uh-huh.
seen as a problem if they have a boy child now.
Uh-huh. Right.
And that to me is reflects confusion,
Mm-hmm.
uncertainty,
Right.
and a sense of we don't need men anymore. We don't need boys anymore,
Right.
right? Boys are
Yeah,
just
isn't that?
problems.
Think of that. Right. That is tragic to think about.
Yeah.
But the reality is we we do this thing to male infants at birth that limits their capability long term, right? And I'm not talking about circumcision, right? I'm actually talking about cutting them off emotionally. Boys come into this world with a broader range of emotional expression and capability than girls have.
Wow, that's the first time I'm hearing that.
Yeah, it's a shocker, right? It's been in the research literature now for decades, but not in the popular literature, not in the popular knowledge, but it is true. All
Wow.
right, for some reason, boys are designed to have a broader range of access to feeling states than girls. It was adaptive for some reason.
Wow. Okay, so boys come into this world with so much emotions. What do parents do to cut them off? What do they
Well,
do?
so look at the reality, all right? Most childcare is still done by females. It may not be mother that's doing it because mother's off to her professional job,
Mm-hmm.
but she hires a nanny,
Yeah.
right? And so most boys on girls are raised by females. Infants interact with females. The female doesn't realize that the boy does have a broader range. So when a boy gets more excited and more effusive on the higher end, the mother, the caretaker, does something that they don't realize they're doing, right? The boy goes, way up high with silliness and
Yeah.
kind of crazy expression as an infant, and the mother goes, right, or backs up a little bit, changes facial expression. Infants are brilliant emotionally. It's their only survival tool
Yeah.
is to read the emotion in the room.
Yeah.
And so if what I'm doing causes mother to look away, causes facial expression to change in some negative way, the boy is gonna be brilliant enough to know, oops, don't do that again. All right?
Wow.
I need connection. I'm an infant. Survival is connection. And if I'm doing something that distresses my caretaker, trust me, I'm going to
Wow.
stop doing it. So whether it's, the more excitable or the more irritated end of the continuum, the boy learns right away, narrow my range
Mm.
of expression. And it's survival. Of course he's going to narrow his range of expression
Why doesn't the same thing happen to girls or girl kids?
because girls don't have that range.
So when you say,
Right? Girls don't have that range. Mother's very comfortable with the emotional range of expression from the girl because it matches mother's emotional range of
right,
expression.
okay, that is really fascinating to me. So, is this problem going to be better solved if men or fathers step in more to actually do the
Absolutely.
caretaking?
Absolutely. And that's happening, right?
Yeah.
There are many more men staying home and doing the care of an infant than 10 years ago,
Wow.
right? It is just increasing in scale. That's really healthy.
Wow.
But we also have to educate the female,
We do.
right? She really needs to understand and appreciate that you don't want to withdraw, right? You
Yeah.
don't want to change your facial expression. You want to welcome that exuberance, that excitement, and you want to comfort when the baby goes down to the negative end and gets more agitated and irritated. You want to move towards, not away from.
Really interesting. Are there tools that, mothers or fathers can look up right now on the internet to learn how they can do this better?
That's a great question, and I'll tell you, I don't know the answer to it.
Okay. Okay.
I know there are lots of books out there on raising boys, doing a better job of fathering boys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the process of developing one myself.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of are there very specific tools, I would say the majority of the population has the same reaction that you did to this piece of information. I never knew that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Right? I never knew that. And then we do the cultural thing to boys,
Which is,
all right? When they can walk, when they can move around, we don't want them to express emotions on the tender end of the continuum. We don't want them to cry, all right? We don't even want them, well, kind of, right? When the second baby is born, it's okay for the boy to be kind of sweet and tender to the new baby, but not too much, right? If he's super sweet, we're a little worried that he's a sissy or that
yeah.
he's going to develop feminine
Right.
qualities, right? And so we're pretty cautious about this, and man, that message gets delivered very directly
Yeah.
to our toddlers that boys don't cry.
Wow.
And boys in preschools don't go and play in the kitchen corner,
Yeah.
right? You could be a chef when you get older. You can't play in the kitchen corner
Yeah.
in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
It's fascinating. I have, this has opened so many more questions that I have, but I want to bring up a question that I found online to your forefront and gain your expertise on it. So the question is this. The title goes, My first child is going to be a boy. Any advice? That's the question. So here's the description. What's up, you all? I'm a 26-year-old male with being a first time dad here. My wife is 24 weeks along We are getting close to viability week and we're expecting a boy. I'm really happy and excited about this, but I've also been having that nagging thought in the back of my head. What if I fucking up? What if I fuck him up mentally? What if I
Right.
fail as a father and I don't raise him to be a good man? My son will be the first grandson of his generation on both my side and my wife's, and I'm the youngest child of my parents, so I haven't seen any current examples of how to raise a boy
How
properly.
to raise a boy.
I have nieces who are all growing into exceptional girls, and I feel like my
Right.
own parents raised me well enough. So I guess my questions are there any major differences between raising a boy and a girl? Can I just emulate how my parents raised me? Would strategies from 26 years ago still be viable today? Any advice on how I can be the best dad for my son? Thanks for humoring this minor freakout.
I love it, right? First of all, to have the courage to
I
recognize,
know.
right? I am wrestling with how to be a father
Yes.
to this boy,
Yeah.
right? So that tells us the truth about the majority of males, right? The majority of males, and including you, right, have this undercurrent of insecurity, right? Regardless of how well known you are, how successful you are, where you have arisen in your profession,
Yeah.
there's this undercurrent
Yeah.
of insecurity. It gets traced right back to infancy and toddlerhood in the way that we cut off access to your emotions and then we socialize you to continue to cut off access to the more sensitive, the more tender, the more interactive aspect of life, right? And intimacy. So this father is really saying to us, right? I've not been well educated about my own feeling states. I am worried. I am scared. And I know that to raise a child, I have to tap into other feeling states. I can't just tap into fear, right? Or performance anxiety. I have to tap into tenderness. I have to tap into patience. I have to tap into my own anxiety and fear. And this guy is being transparent about
Yeah.
that.
So
He's
much
basically
respect
saying,
for the
hey,
kind of self
I'm scared,
awareness he has.
right?
Yeah.
This little boy's heading my way and I'm terrified.
Yeah.
Good, good. It's good to be scared when this little boy is heading your way,
Right.
right? Because you will start to monitor. You'll self monitor. You'll ask these good questions,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
What should I do when my baby is crying? What should I do when my baby is agitated? What should be my attitude? All
Right.
right? And if you think about it, the best question to ask yourself is what do I want? Right? When I'm sad, when I'm agitated, when I'm disappointed, what do I want? Because your boy, infant, is going to have all of those feeling states, right? Plus more. And so, that transparency of I'm scared, I don't know what to do, I'd go, bravo, right?
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Because now you can identify with the feeling states that your infant is going to have.
Yeah.
Because sometimes your infant's going to be scared. Sometimes your infant's going to be worried. Sometimes your infant is going to be anxious, right? Your infant's going to have the full range of emotion that you have.
Yeah.
So increasing your awareness of I have these feelings gives you the opportunity to have empathy for the infant. And that's what I want, right? I want this guy to have empathy for his infant and know that with that empathy, there'll be an automatic connection.
Got it.
Empathy just does that
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah. That's a great insight. I Before we move forward, I wanted to kind of dive into your journey and would love people to be able to hear what your journey has been so far, because you've gone through so many things. You've had incredible moments on your journey, and I would love for the audience to be able to listen to what's actually led you there.
The reason that I am so passionate about men and boys is that's how I started my private practice, right? I decided to leave academia, go into private practice, and I had a friend who ran a preschool. And so that was a great connection, right? I'd like to speak to your parents. I'll be available to help your teachers and evaluate all the kids that need evaluation. Well, in a preschool, preschools are by and large run by women, right? But they service boys and girls. And women are much more comfortable with girls than they are with boys. So they're going to refer the boy out. This boy is like too busy, won't pay attention, seems to be agitating everybody else around him, right? We're going to send him to a psychologist for an evaluation. So I started seeing lots of preschool boys from that preschool and many others as well. And it just stirred my curiosity about what's different about these boys, right? There's nothing really wrong with them, right? They don't all have attention deficit disorder, right? They do not need to be medicated. They're just different, right? And they express themselves in ways that are different. They use their body more to express themselves, all right? Girls use their language more to express themselves. But boys use their bodies to express themselves. And as a result of kind of working with all of those preschoolers, the next thing that happened in my practice is that the fathers of those children put themselves on my calendar.
How did that happen?
Well, I think the reason it happened is that they themselves were, I'm going to say, I'll call it mistreated in preschool, right? And in early elementary school, because they're more active. They're expressing themselves in physical action, not verbal action. And some of them got medicated as having attention deficit disorder. Some of them got thrown out of preschools, right?
Yeah.
And, lots of parent uproar comes along with, the school doesn't like my boy, or my boy's in trouble. So these fathers had their own histories of facing the culture and the way that the culture relates to a boy growing up. And we are different, right? We really treat males very differently from females as we educate them. And so my calendar filled with these adult men. And man, you learn a lot from somebody when they come into therapy. And they taught me what it's like to be a male in this culture. And that's what I want to be able to communicate to others, both male and female, what it has been like to be a male in this culture and what we need to do moving forward.
Yeah.
And I'm very concerned about that for this reason, right? As we advance with artificial intelligence, it is going to give us more free time, right? More opportunity for interpersonal connection,
Yeah.
right? Because now, my husband is not making dinner, a robot's making dinner, right?
Yeah.
And so we're going to have more time to interact
Yeah.
with each other. And that interaction needs to have quality to it, right? It needs to have clear communication to it. And honestly, we don't know how to do that right now as a culture.
Yeah.
We really don't.
There's so much to unpack here. So, when, you know, men are going through all of this, actually, let me shift to a different question. I was thinking of something else. When you were actually working with these boys in kindergarten, preschool, those situations, was there a moment that you can recollect where it was that was unexpected? I came in thinking about something and something else happened here. I really need to look at this more.
I can tell you about one little boy who I will say blew my mind, but educated me about how boys process feeling states.
Wow. What happened? I would love to listen to this one.
He's 3,
Uh-huh.
right? His parents are divorced. They share custody equally.
Right.
He moves back and forth between these houses. His parents come to me because the boy is difficult in each house. Neither one of them know what to do, how to relate, how to manage. This boy is just difficult in both houses. All right, so after interviewing them, I make time for this 3-year-old to come into my office. He's hilarious. All right, and so I go out to the waiting room to greet the parents, to say hello to the boy, and the boy pops out of his seat, right, stands up erect, introduces himself, right, and I introduce myself, and I say, you're going to come with me back to my room. He takes off ahead of me, right, as though he knows exactly where he's going, right, and my door was the only one open, so yes, he ends up in the right room. And as we play and the conversation develops, right, I'm interested in the things that make him sad. And what does he do when he feels this sadness? Boy, the education this kid gave me is amazing, because he clearly describes, right, that he never cries. Never cries. What happens then when you are sad? And he described that these tears come into his eyes, right, and he swallows them. They never come out his eyes. They go down into his tummy. They turn into rocks in his tummy, and then they come right back up, and he throws them all around the room. Now, what a marvelous description, right, of transferring sadness into anger. And that's the classic for males all over the world, really, right? They transfer sadness into anger. That's why our jails are full of men, because they don't know how to process the sadness, and it gets translated into irritation and anger.
Wow. What do you think are the worst things parents do that lead some men in the direction of becoming criminals, or some boys in the direction of becoming criminals, and some become good men who just don't know how to process their emotion. What's the difference?
Yeah, I would say that the truth is that the majority of men don't know how to process their emotions, right? But because we've educated them in that way, we've restricted the more tender range of emotion that they can express.
Yeah.
And so if you are fortunate enough to be in a family that is interested in what you are feeling, someone will spend enough time and have the patience to wait for that boy to dump something out. Right? If I don't pressure the boy, if I just assure them, all right, that I know something's bugging you and it's all right, you can take your time, I'm not going anywhere, but I am interested in what's bothering you. All right? Now, you could use that with a 3-year-old, a 12-year-old. You can use that with a 30-year-old, all right, or a 76-year-old. When a human being knows that someone is interested and that I'm going to stay with you as you figure out, am I trustworthy?
Yeah.
Can you take the risk?
Yeah.
And then can you actually kind of collect the information that's in your body and in your brain and turn it into language and share it with me? It takes patience to wait for that from a male. And we're all capable of doing it. All men are capable of doing it. We just have to help facilitate it.
So, coming back to my question, are there some things parents can do really wrong that can lead them down the path of becoming criminals?
And that was your original question. So, yes. All right. I think, first of all, corporal punishment, which still exists, is not healthy for anybody.
Yeah.
And so we could educate people that there are other ways to create boundaries and discipline for children other than hitting them or paddling them, or completely rejecting them.
Yeah.
All right. I know some kids that have been locked out of the house in elementary school. Right? I mean, who does that? What are you trying to accomplish with that kind of isolation and rejection? So I think what happens that lands men in jail more often than women is that we do not facilitate their ability to express what they're feeling. They don't have feeling language. I can tell you in the work that I have done with men, right, if I ask them for their vocabulary to express feelings, right, I could probably count on one hand the words that they use to express feeling states.
Yeah.
Now, I have a sheet of feeling words. It is 3 pages, and there are 4 columns on each page, right? Each page is filled with feeling words. Our
Right.
vocabulary is marvelous.
Yeah.
Right? We have numerous feeling words, and the part that I love is that your brain can recognize what you're feeling. So if I hand those 3 sheets to a guy in my office and say, hey, just scan through it. You've described this situation to me. You can't figure out what you're feeling. Just scan through it. Tell me what words pop out. Boom, 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 right? All those feelings that they're having, they can recognize immediately. They can pull it right off the page.
Yeah.
Your brain knows what you're feeling. The culture has put up a screen, a big wall, a block
Right.
that says you can't have access to it, all right? But you can get access to it if you just run through the feeling words. They will pop out. Then you can figure out how to work with those feelings.
Yeah.
But you can't work with a feeling if you can't identify it. So when I can't identify a feeling, I get frustrated.
Yeah.
All right? That frustration will build into anger and agitation, and that will build into either I'm going to exit, right, or I'm going to attack.
Yeah.
Those are my only two choices. Right? And that's why a guy ends up in jail, right? Is that, he exit by punching walls or throwing crap, or he attacks.
Yeah.
Right? Either situation, I'm calling the police, right? And then you're on the police's radar as the guy who's dangerous. So it doesn't take many other times before suddenly you're in jail.
So these men don't know how to process their emotions. They're
Correct.
frustrated about it, and they start taking their frustration out in the wrong way,
That's absolutely right.
without control, leading them into directions of being a criminal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is frustration that leads me into actions. So it doesn't have to be an interaction with another human being, right? I can just sit here and get frustrated and irritated that, other people have things that I don't have. And so that irritation can build up to the point that I'm just going to go get what I want, right? Because I believe I deserve it just as much as this other person
Right.
deserves it.
Very fascinating. So, parents end up just blocking emotions, and that's what causes this entire bubble up. Now,
Right.
I'm going to choose to challenge you a little bit here. So,
Sure.
what I'm trying to differentiate is if let's hypothetically take all boys have parents who block their emotions. So you have, let's say, 100 boys, for our example, who all have their emotions blocked. But it's about 30 of them who end up becoming criminals. And then there are 70 of them who don't take that path.
Right.
What's the differentiation?
The difference is actually the parenting situation and the social situation.
Okay.
Right? It could be through educational systems where
Value
I
systems.
get devalued. It could be my parents devaluing me or being physically and emotionally abusive to me. So in order to turn a human being into a criminal, I have to suppress them in some way. All right? I have to communicate to them that they are less than. They will always be less than.
Interesting.
Right? So that irritation and anger comes up and out in terms of acting against the culture that they're in.
So would it be right for me to say that these boys who end up becoming criminals have had much more suppression of their emotions compared to
Absolutely.
other boys? So the other boys
Yeah,
have
absolutely.
some more liberal ability to express what they're going through, but these who struggle the most are the ones who go to the wrong path.
Absolutely. I think that would be reasonable to make that supposition. Yes.
Fascinating, fascinating. So, If someone came to you today and they are struggling with their emotional situation, right? Let's take them. They're the average boy, average man who's grown up suppressing their emotions. How do you take that person from that place to being able to now find a new identity where they can actually express what they want to express?
Yeah, first you have to establish a relationship
Right.
with that person. All right. So I'm going to spend some time listening to you. I'm going to spend some time kind of trying to figure out what's your history, what's your background, how do you feel about yourself, who are the people in your life that support you, that you're interested in, who are the people in your life who have disappointed you and agitated you, rejected you, all right? So there has to be a connection made before you're going to trust me to do anything,
Right.
right? And then honestly, one of the first things that I'm going to do once we have a trust and we know we're going to work together is I'm going to send you home with this feeling sheet, right? And I'm going to tell you, make a copy and put it in the kitchen. Make a copy and put it in the living room. Make a copy and put it in the bedroom so that you can have easy access to this list of feelings and use it. All right? Sometimes just use it for the heck of it. All right? If you're in the living room, you're watching television, you got that feelings sheet on the coffee table, pick it up. Right? Run through it and see what pops out. Here you are just sitting comfortably, watching television, right? Maybe it's your favorite football team. And let's just see what feeling states pop out. And then what do you think about that? Right? Which one surprised you that you weren't expecting
Yeah.
to pop out? And definitely, right, when some kind of emotion is coming up in you, agitation, sadness, irritation, disappointment, get that feeling sheet out, run through it, see how many feeling words pop up for you, and then figure out, right, why that one,
Interesting.
right? What's the source of that one? Because it has a history to it. It has a place. It has a beginning. So it's increasing your curiosity, right? And once your curiosity is increased and you're willing to look at making deeper dives into the fact that yes, I have feeling states, I have a variety of feeling states, all right, then I'm really going to challenge you to look at your history.
Yeah.
Those feeling states that you block or that you have trouble with have a history
Yeah.
to them. They're not magical. They didn't just happen yesterday, all right? They have a history to them. And so we're going to go find that. And it's like finding a weed and pull it up by the roots.
Yeah.
We're going to find out where that guy started, and we're going to pull it up by the root. Because it doesn't belong to you.
Yeah. Got it.
You don't need to hold on to it or let it keep growing.
So if I had to recap, first, they actually create an awareness of their emotions. The first place to start is for them to be able to recognize that probably there are more emotions they're experiencing than what they're able to recognize. The second
Right.
step is to start being curious around those emotions. What's going on? What's the history of it? What is it telling me? Why? And then finally, the process of taking the roots of those emotions out so that they don't have a grab on this person eternally.
Right.
Like, if
Right.
I had to really simplify it, I'm sure there are nuances, there is many processes that come in, but at a high level, this is what it seems.
Right. And then I'm going to challenge you to express emotion that you have been avoiding, right? That you have held back, that you're experiencing, but that you're not saying
Yeah.
to anyone. I'm going to challenge you to take ownership of your feeling
Yeah.
states, right? And we own them when we share them with somebody else. We're born connected, we seek connection, we need connection, we thrive in connection. So I have to be able to take my feeling states and share them with another person.
Got it. So, before we move on, I would love to play a small game with you, and
Okay.
I'll read out what the game is.
I love games, so this is good.
Yeah, it's red flag, green flag for fathers.
Okay.
Okay? So, I'll give you 10 scenarios, and you can tell me if it's a red flag, a green flag, or a yellow flag, if you think so.
Okay. Okay.
A father cries openly at his child's graduation.
That's wonderful.
Okay.
That's a green flag.
What makes this a green?
Keep going. Yes.
What makes it a green flag?
Because it expresses the attachment, the appreciation, the value that that man has for the relationship with that child.
Interesting.
It's golden. I love it.
I'm going to voice some questions that I feel people may have on this scenario. What about their crying making other people uncomfortable? Should they even think about it? How should they process that? Because I feel that awareness, consciousness comes in.
Of course they're going to think about it, right? Of course they're going to think about it, right? You're an adult male. You're in a crowd, right? Graduation isn't a one-on-one thing, right? You're in the stands at the stadium, perhaps, depending on the size of the graduation class. Right, so yes, so there are strangers around you, right? And so yes, you're going to be you're overwhelmed, right? You cry. Somebody in this crowd is going to make a verbal or a non-verbal expression that is negative.
Yeah.
Just guaranteed, right? Absolutely guaranteed. And so, your reaction to that, you're going to be aware of that, can either be, all right, so, too bad.
Yeah, too bad.
Right? It's all right for me to cry. Which brings up, do you know who a football player decades ago named Rosie Greer?
No, unfortunately not.
All right, so you have to look him up. All right, Rosie Greer in a program for television for kids. Rosie Greer, first of all, is huge. I mean, just a massive football player. He's singing "It's All Right to Cry." Right? It's wonderful. You can find it on YouTube. And so maybe the guy has Rosie Greer's attitude that, hey, it's all right for me to cry, right? Or maybe the guy is really ashamed, right? I can't help it, right? I put so much energy into this boy graduating. You don't know the struggle I've been through. All this stuff is going on inside of this guy, right? And maybe he's ashamed that he's crying. And I would say to you, that's okay, all right? Because that's a real, genuine feeling, experience, and you have allowed yourself to express the attachment and the work that's gone into raising this guy in tears.
Yeah.
That's fine, all right? Let yourself be embarrassed or ashamed.
Awesome. The second one I have is a father forces his son to finish a sports season that he hates. The child hates this. The son hates it because he made a commitment.
Wow, that's a tougher one.
Yeah. I thought so.
That's a tougher one. So I'm going to have to stay in the middle with that one because there can be a variety of circumstances, right? Is this the first time that dad has done this?
Yeah.
Right? And how did they get into that sport? Was this a sport that the boy was passionate about at the beginning, was really trying, and just discovered, man, I can't do this, I don't like it, it's not what I thought it was going to be? Is this a sport that is dad's sport?
Yeah.
Right? I was a hockey player, you're going to be a hockey player, I don't care if you can't skate, right?
Interesting.
Unless you break your leg, you're going to be a hockey player. I mean, there are too many scenarios
Yeah, I get that.
for that one, that, you have to land in the middle, because you have to know the circumstances to be able to facilitate what's the healthiest thing for that boy and what's the healthiest thing for that father, right?
Okay. So, how would a father take this from a yellow flag to a green flag?
All right. So it is valuable to hold your children accountable for a commitment.
Right.
That has tremendous value.
Yeah.
All right. So a little story as a sideline. All right. I admire families who hold their children accountable to participate in the process of living in the household, right? And so participating in a sport is a similar commitment,
Yeah.
right? It's not it's not an individual. Even if we're talking about fencing, right? I've still made a commitment to the fencing coach. I've made a commitment to the other people on the team, even though it's a smaller team,
Yeah.
right? But I've made a commitment to this group, and there is value in appreciating how to follow through with that commitment, even though I am learning, I don't like this sport. This sport is not for me, all right? So maybe I probably will definitely spend less time on the field, because the coach is not going to put me out there if I'm not learning and learning the plays and developing my technique in that sport. But I can still be a support for the people that are on the field, all right? I can still help to identify strengths and weaknesses. I can be a part of the team without really loving the sport.
Yeah.
And so that should be Dad's goal. Not that, I have to go out there and play every time, but that I have to be a part of this group.
Right.
And use the skill set
That's incredible. That's incredible. That's such a different angle to see this. They need not directly play the sport, but they can contribute to the team using their own strengths. Right. That's awesome. Okay.
Right, and finish out the season, and then you don't have to do that sport ever again.
Okay, awesome. Third one. A father takes his daughter on dates to model how she should be treated by men.
I think that's a positive.
Yeah.
Right? I think that is truly a positive. And to have conversation about what to expect and how to comport herself and what to expect from someone who wants to take her on a date.
A father tells his teenage son he can drink at home, but not outside.
Ooh, that's a recipe for disaster.
Right? Yeah.
Right? So if you tell your child, all right, when the family is sitting down to dinner, right, I will give you X to drink, all right, so that you are exposed to alcohol, all right, that's good for me. But to say, you can drink as long as you drink at home, you can drink in your room, right? You can drink in the basement while you're watching television, fine with me. That's irresponsible,
Interesting.
right? You're really not educating that child about the impact of alcohol, the community cost, the cultural cost of alcohol at all. And you're you're not doing an interactive process
Yeah,
with that
I
child.
definitely see that. There's a value to exposing them, but it the father needs to be way more hands-on to show what
Right.
a
It needs to be much
responsible
more interactive.
way to handle this is going to be.
Hmm.
Okay, I see that. Um, a father pays for everything but refuses to talk about money with his kids.
Oh, I need to see that father.
Okay, okay.
Oh, just totally
Yeah,
irresponsible.
I mean, I can
Right.
see so many red flags already in it because
Right.
paying for everything, refusing to talk about money, like there's so much
Right.
that can go wrong with it.
Right. Yeah, I love the family that will start with an allowance for a child, all right? But we'll put structure to it.
Hmm.
We'll say, you have to save a piece of this, you can spend a piece of this, and you have to give a piece away, right? That's the person that I want to exist in my neighborhood,
Yeah.
in my society as an adult,
Hmm.
right? The one who knows how to spend responsibly, who saves, and who contributes to the community.
Yeah.
So if you're doing that with money with your kid, even if you start out with a quarter,
Yeah.
right? I still have to divide that quarter in those three
Yeah.
ways. And that's valuable
Yeah.
because money is a way of being
Correct.
in connection
Yeah.
with others, right? It's not something that I hoard. It is something that I use to benefit myself and those around me.
Here's the next one. A father only praises his son's achievements.
All right, so you're going to have to elaborate a little bit more on that.
Okay. So, what I mean by that is whatever the father considers an achievement, even the little things, maybe the kid walked for the first time, that's an achievement,
Right.
but not the process, not the in between goals. Do you do you see that as a red flag or a green flag or a yellow flag?
Yeah, so I think what you're saying is that father only pays attention to the outcome, not the
Exactly.
process,
Yeah.
right? And of course, that's a negative, right? If I'm only going to value the A that you bring home on the report card, but I'm not available to check in with, are you understanding this? How's it going? Do you need some help with this? Can we talk about what you're studying? If I'm not a part of the process and I only come in on the product end, then I've just done my child a real disservice.
I also wanted to ask you about this perspective that I've heard so much about. It's way more important to validate someone's effort than their achievement.
Hmm.
What do you feel
Oh,
about
yeah.
that?
Oh, yeah. Right? Because we put out effort all the time.
Right.
All right? Effort is present with us constantly. You and I are putting out effort
Yeah.
right now. So effort is continuous, right? But achievement comes occasionally.
Right. Wow, that's a very
Right? It
different
isn't it
angle to
isn't
look.
continuous.
Yeah, very different.
So I need to know I'm valued.
Yeah.
So if you're with me, then you're understanding the effort that I'm putting in, and you're supporting that and you're complimenting that. If I never get that food from you, why would I want dessert?
Yeah, fascinating. A father vents about marital problems to his teenage child.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not, all right? You cannot alienate one child from the other parent. You cannot use a child as your support system. I have seen this happen so many times, and I will tell you the pattern develops in this way. The parent who solicits the child's support by saying and doing negative things about the other parent, that parent, when the child grows up, typically is abandoned and cut off. It happens so many times. I have seen it over and over again.
And what impact does it have on the child itself?
It's emotionally weighty.
Yeah.
Right? Think about it,
Yeah.
right? I'm a kid, and my mother or my father is complaining to me, leaning on me to support them in an adult relationship,
Yeah.
right? The weight is too heavy. I should never be put
Yeah.
in that position.
And
And the child is half mother and half father,
yeah.
right? We keep forgetting that. So that when you denigrate one parent, you're actually saying, oh, you carry some of that same quality, and I don't like it in you either. You don't have to say it directly, right? All you have to do is attribute it to the other parent.
Wow.
Oh, that other parent has quality X. And the kid is going, well, do I have some quality X in me? You know?
And the kid is not
Well,
going to
you
show
don't like
that.
that part of me either.
Yeah, the kid now decides, okay, I can't show that part of myself to the parent.
Right, I can't show that part
Wow.
of you, no, because you will hate me for it.
Yeah. And a pattern that I also observe is when these things happen, kids like that tend to feel like they've been taking a lot of emotional weight for a long time because they feel like they're
Oh,
taking
yeah.
their own problems, the parents' problems, and then maybe soon enough their child's problems, and it's so emotionally
Right.
heavy.
Yeah, it is very, very heavy. That's a good image, right? It's like putting a rock in their pocket, and then the pocket just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
You're really weighing the child down.
The next one is a father hugs his teenage son daily, even when his son resists.
That's a negative, right? So affection needs to be mutual, needs to be reciprocal,
Right.
right?
Consent.
And you can communicate that affection, that admiration in other ways than touch, right? You can communicate it in language, you can communicate it in gifts, you can communicate it in privileges. There are lots of ways.
Yeah.
You can communicate it in time, just spending time with that person.
Yeah.
Tons of other ways.
A father tells his son to never hit a girl, but doesn't teach him how to manage his anger.
That's definitely a negative.
Right? I mean, it's complicated because I think a lot of parents do this. They tell them what they can't do, but they don't guide them on how to handle all this inner world that they have.
Right. Yeah, I think that is really common,
Yeah.
right? And that inner world doesn't necessarily have to be anger or agitation, right? That inner world could be also kind of tenderness, empathy, that there's no opportunity for the family, for the parents to really engage the child in understanding their own feeling states.
Yeah.
often when a child comes to a parent with a particular feeling state, the parent is afraid, right? Doesn't know what to do. And so they do kind of this, everything will be okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry, everything will be okay,
Yeah.
right? And so there's never a discussion of that feeling state. It just gets swept away.
Interesting. Yeah. A father shows up for sports games, but never for school plays or art shows.
That's a negative. Just flat out, right? If your child participates in something, regardless of what it is, show
Show
up.
up. Be there. Okay. Thank you for this. This was very interesting. I have a couple more
You're welcome.
questions and then we can close this conversation.
Very good.
Having learned about, you know, all these things that boys, men go through, how did it impact your own relationship?
It's made it easier to work with men, for sure, right? And it's made it easier to be in relationship with my husband and to
Wow.
really understand what his own personal history has meant for him, right? And how he was treated in his family of origin. So we've had some great conversations helping each other grow because of our own family histories.
Do you remember the day when you decided, okay, I'm going to do something different? And how did that go? When you had exposure to this child, 3-year old, then you came back.
Yeah. That, actually, that exposure really was like a huge light going off, right? And just an amazing sense of what we are capable of emotionally as human beings and how early that power exists for us, right? I now easily trace things back to infancy for people
Yeah.
because the way that you were treated as an infant can have such a powerful, long-lasting impact, right? And you came into this world ready to interact with anybody and everybody and full of the capability to understand every emotion. Absolutely, infants are just emotionally brilliant,
Wow.
right? I tell people, if you want to know who to trust, pass a baby around a room, right? When the baby starts to get fidgety and agitated or cries when it gets passed to the next person, do not invest with that person. The baby has just told you, this person is not safe. This person is not trustworthy. Babies read people perfectly.
Wow. Okay. Um, when you started changing your behavior with your husband, understanding all these dynamics, what were the changes in his behavior that you observed?
I think there's more openness, more safety, right? And that's what we all need, right? If we are safe, then we can take a risk. And so clearly, more safety is present for both of us.
Wow. Awesome. Okay. My final question to you. What are a couple of nuggets that you can share with us from your upcoming book, How to Not Fuck Up Being a Father?
Well, one is that it is possible, right, to examine your own history of being fathered and identify the ways in which limits have been placed on your own emotionality. And that's really the key, to making yourself accessible to your son. You have to know what doors have been closed in you in order to open them
Yeah.
to really make yourself
Yeah.
accessible to your son.
Are there any other nuggets you would like to share?
I would like to encourage people to do their own work, right?
Yeah.
I have a current book out
Yeah.
that can facilitate
I'll
that.
make sure to
It's,
tag that in the show notes and people can go
and
check it out.
everyone should go check that out because it's so important that you take your own emotional growth seriously. And it does take work.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen
Yeah.
automatically. It takes intention.
Yeah. My final question to you. What are
hmm
3 habits fathers can adopt today to change the type of father they are at the moment?
3 habits. That's a tough one, actually. Right? So if I were in charge of every father, right, I would say, at the end of the day, get a piece of paper and a pen and reflect on what feelings you have experienced that day. All right? So write it down. The next day, share it with another adult. It could be your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
It could be somebody at work. It could be the person sitting next to you on the bus or the train,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Share it with somebody. So first identify it, share it, and then ask yourself, what will change for me as a result of identifying this experience and sharing it with someone else? All right? Where will it lead me?
Okay.
What change will I make?
That's the first habit, or is it a combination of 3 habits?
Those 3.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for your time and
You're
all
welcome.
the wisdom that
Enjoy.
you've shared with us. And I hope that each and every person who watches this thoroughly understands, appreciates, and incorporates all the wisdom that you've shared with us.
Thank you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for being on the show today.